We are social creatures. Deep in our evolutionary programming, being cast out from the tribe meant certain death. Today, that translates into a persistent fear of looking foolish or making a scene. That fear traps us. When we hear a weird noise downstairs, our brains demand definitive proof before we react. We wait to see a weapon or a clear threat because nobody wants to be the person who called the police over a raccoon. This chart plots social cost against physical risk. Calling 911 for an unverified noise sits in the high social cost, low risk quadrant. But as you wait to verify the threat, the physical risk drifts rapidly upward, giving an intruder seconds to reach your bedroom. Prioritizing your social reputation in a moment of ambiguity compromises your ability to protect yourself. To survive, you have to be willing to be the punchline of a joke. Pop culture trains us to do the exact opposite of what keeps us safe. In horror movies, the protagonist who grabs a flashlight to walk into the dark basement is usually rewarded with the vital clue. This conditioning runs deep. We expect leaders to keep beaches open for tourists, prioritizing economic normalcy until a shark makes the threat impossible to ignore. We are going to analyze actual accounts of home invasions and stalkers to map out the mathematics of survival. We will see why a paranoid reaction is actually the most logical choice you can make. Building an objective heuristic allows you to act decisively, identifying that hesitation while frozen in a dark hallway and overriding it with a pre-calculated protocol. When adrenaline spikes and your brain tries to rationalize away a red flag, you need a pre-planned protocol to force your feet to move. The most common response to a potential threat is to simply wait and see. Consider a freshman at the University of Iowa who noticed his new roommate acting strangely, staring silently at him in the dark for hours. In a familiar setting like a college dorm, raising an alarm feels inappropriate. It feels like you are the one breaking the social contract by accusing a peer of being dangerous. The immediate payoff of ignoring the behavior is attractive. You avoid an awkward meeting with the RA, and you don't have to explain your nerves to your friends. But look at the cost. That same roommate escalated to trying to break into the student's new dorm room in the middle of the night. By waiting to see what happened, the student handed total control of the timeline to the aggressor. Ignoring an anomaly cedes total control of the situation to the aggressor, removing your agency while the threat naturally escalates. Investigation is a dangerous gamble. An Airbnb guest woke up to strange noises in the middle of the night and, instead of leaving immediately, walked downstairs into the dark kitchen to see what was happening. In remote locations like the Adirondacks, the burden of proof feels heavier. Without nearby neighbors, people feel uniquely responsible for confirming a danger before they commit to calling for help.
The logic seems sound. You want absolute proof that an intruder is in the house to justify the financial and social cost of an overreaction. This flowchart tracks the escalating timeline. Investigating instead of evacuating trades physical barriers for information. The guest found a man hiding and barely made it back to lock the door. Time and distance burned, confirming suspicions, are the exact tools needed to survive. Investigation trades your survival assets for information you cannot use once you are trapped. The optimal response is known as asymmetric evacuation. Take the case of a buyer arriving at a house for a Craigslist deal. When he looked through a window and saw a taxidermy human figure instead of the car he was promised, he didn't knock to ask questions. He turned and ran. He abandoned the situation before he had the full picture, acting aggressively on incomplete data. This strategy yields a mathematically high probability of safety. By leaving early, you keep your physical health and your future options completely intact. The trade-off is entirely social. If you are wrong, you look crazy. You burn the relationship, deal with embarrassment, and lose whatever money you spent on gas. Survival is a transaction. You are buying physical distance, and the currency you use to pay for it is your pride. Accepting that embarrassment is the cheapest insurance policy you will ever buy. Securing your physical safety requires treating your social comfort as a disposable asset. You must be willing to spend it the moment a situation feels off. This protocol maps your response to your psychology: verification seeker, proactive evacuator, and defensive assumer. If you hate overreacting, adopt the one anomaly rule. The moment you spot a red flag, exit. Accept the loss of social grace to remove decision fatigue. This minor inconvenience is a fair price to pay to ensure you are never caught off guard by a real threat. Pre-planned hardline rules successfully override the human brain's flawed real-time risk assessment. For the defensive assumer, the instinct is to stand your ground or confront the trespasser. You want to fortify your territory and end the threat yourself. Initiating contact introduces massive unknown variables. It forces a reaction from an intruder and turns a predictable situation into a chaotic one. Escalation is a job for law enforcement. Yielding your property to prioritize evacuation prevents a simple robbery from becoming a lethal encounter. You can replace your electronics, but you cannot replace your life. Returning to the matrix, we see the optimal play. Immediate evacuation requires absorbing the maximum social cost to secure the absolute lowest physical risk. Stop trying to make optimal decisions with incomplete data in the heat of the moment. Make the asymmetric choice to invest your ego and buy physical distance. The ROI of paranoia is